Here we're going to look at example 2 from topic 37, where we understand factoring by grouping, also known as the AC method. So what is the factored form of 6x squared plus 11x plus 4? Now the AC method is called that because we have the form ax squared plus bx plus c, and what we're doing in the AC method is we're going to multiply a times c. Okay. Now there's a big explanation on how A, B, and C are all related, figuring out what terms cause what other terms to, do different things. But really, I'm just going to show you the example, show you the process of the AC method, and hopefully that'll give you enough understanding to move forward. So you're still looking at your factor sum chart. Okay, so we're going to create our factor sum chart, but this time we're still looking for a sum of 3. Oh, sorry, not a sum of 3. I don't know where that came from. We're still looking for a sum of 11, which is our B term, right? We're still going to look for that. That's not going to change. However, our factor this time is going to be a combination of our A and C. So the factor would be 6 times 4, or 24. Okay, so we're looking for a factor of 24 this time, which is, again, 6 times 4, the A times C. So hopefully you understand where those numbers come from. So factors of 24, right? We have 1 and 24, which gives us 25. 2 and 12 would be 14. 3 and 8, which gives us 11, so that checks out. Now, very important to note, we can't just stop there. My solution is not x plus 3, x plus 8 like it was before. Because if I distribute this, again, don't really write this down because this is wrong. I don't get what I started with, right? Notice how we have a 24 here, we had a 4, I have an x squared, I had a 6x squared. So this is no good. So those factors are not just going to get plugged in. Okay, so keep that in mind. What is going to happen though, is we're going to take our original 6x squared and our plus 4, and then we're going to split 11x into 3x plus 8x. The order won't matter. You can put the 8x first, but in this case, I'm going to put the 3x first. You'll get the same answer in the end, so don't worry about which term goes before which term. But again, this 3x plus 8x is being split up. Okay, that's from the 11x. Notice again that this 11x is split into these two. Okay, that's where that's coming from. So we're not just making up numbers as we go, but we're finding there is a method to this. Now, from here, you're going to look at your first two terms, and you're going to find the GCF of 6x squared plus 3x. So the GCF of those is going to be 3x. And you just kind of pretend like that's not there. All right, just ignore the 8x plus 4 for now. So the GCF of 6x squared plus 3x is 3x. And when I factor that out, right, we divide each term by 3x. So we would be left with 2x plus 1. Now you're going to do the same thing for the last two terms. So we're going to look at 8x plus 4. And the GCF of 8x plus 4 is going to be a positive 4. And again, if I divide each term by that GCF, I get 2x plus 1. Now, what's important to note here is that these two groups should be identical at this point. If those two do not match up exactly, you either happen to make a mistake here, or this problem is not going to be factorable. But these two groups within parentheses must be identical. If they are not identical, something went wrong in this process. So you want to backtrack and figure out what might have gone wrong. Okay, so going back to the start, we're not done yet, but going back to the start just to kind of review, you're going to multiply A times C. That's your factor. You find factor pairs that are going to add up to the B term, in this case 11. Those two factor pairs, that 3 and that 8, those would then be split up. Your B term gets split up into those two factor pairs, and then you're going to take the GCF of your first two terms and the GCF of your last two terms. your two binomials here and here should match at this point. If they don't, something is wrong. Okay, now we're technically going to factor out a GCF again between this group and this group, but that GCF will be the binomial. All right, 2x plus 1. So that's going to go there. And then the two pieces on the outside are what are left over. So we write those as one group. And this would be our fully factored form. You should check just to make sure that each individual piece, so like this binomial, is not factorable further. These two are not, but it is possible where you may have to factor one more time. Unlikely, but it does happen. Since you're new to this method, I would always recommend checking it, making sure that your work is correct. So take your 2x plus 1, take your 3x plus 4, and we're going to check by multiplying. So distribute, I get 6x squared plus 8x, multiply, I get 3x plus 4, combine like terms, and this checks out from the original. Okay. So the AC method is a really good method to use. You're going to see a lot of it in factoring, especially obviously with ax squared plus bx plus c. The AC method, although it looks a little complicated, what you're going to find is that it's the same process every single time. Okay, and you just repeat that process over and over again, and you may have different numbers, but the process, the steps are the same. So your first step, again, just to review one more time before we end this video, you're going to multiply A times C. That'll be the factor, the pairs that you're looking for that multiply to get that factor. In this case, it was 24. The factors, the factor pairs, have to add up to the sum being your B term, which doesn't change from our factor sum method. Once you have your factor pair, split your BX term up into those two pairs. Take the GCF of your first two numbers, the GCF of your last two numbers. Make sure your binomials match up. Since they do, you can move forward. Write the binomial pair once, and then those outside pieces that are double underlined would come down as its own pair. Again, I highly recommend that you check these problems until you get really used to this process. And always check to see if there's a GCF first. All right, if you factor out a GCF, it will definitely make your life easier. That's it for now.